Hi, I'm Peter Navarro, director of Death by China. For 3 years, this documentary film was one of the most popular on Netflix. And now you can watch the official version for free. So enjoy the show, and afterwards, check out my new book and film, Crouching Tiger, What China's Militarism Means for the World. And please, help defend America and protect your family. Don't buy made in China.
I think that the water's going to get hotter and hotter, and if there's no event to wake people up, I think China can just own more and more and more and more of our debt, and everything's fine until that magical moment when it's not, and all the sorries in the world aren't going to make that any different.
The film you're about to see addresses one of the most urgent problems facing America. Its increasingly destructive trade relationship with a rapidly rising China. As you watch this film, it is important to always distinguish clearly between the good and hard-working people of China and their repressive communist government, now victimizing both American and Chinese citizens alike. So just what has America's future looked like since China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001?
We are in a trade war, and stealing, lying, and cheating on the part of the Chinese is all part of it.
Free trade's great stuff if you can get it. What we have with China is not free trade.
For China to sell something at 1/10 of the price of what it would cost in the United States to produce, they are cheating monumentally in a major, massive sort of way on everything.
When China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001, it promised to stop cheating and play by fair trade rules. That meant abandoning unfair trade practices like currency manipulation, illegal export subsidies, and abusing its workers. Instead, the Chinese government has used these weapons of job destruction to launch a sustained and devastating attack on America's factories and jobs, while flooding our markets with dangerous products.
There's no question that a large part of China's competitive advantage has come from environmental neglect.
There are good and bad reasons why goods are cheap in the international economy. The good reason is that somebody's a good producer, that they're quick, that they get the product to market, they have good technology, that their workers are efficient and well-trained. The bad reason is that the workers are treated like dirt.
When the workers in China are being abused, then workers in America have a tougher time competing against them.
As an employer in China, do you have any regulations that you have to deal with, like OSHA, labor regulations? Do you have to pay even Social Security or Medicare? Do you have to protect your workers in difficult or unsafe conditions? No. No, 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 no. No, you don't.
You go to prison if you try to form a labor union.
Freedom of association, the right to organize and bargain collectively are completely absent in China today.
There's no equivalent to OSHA, occupational safety regulations, and they lose about 130,000 men and women to, and that's the ones they report on, to accidents per year that many of which could be prevented with good protection.
They don't comply with their own child labor laws, prison labor laws, health and safety laws, minimum wage laws.
Well, there's a Dr. Lee who lives in New Jersey who was actually an American citizen, and he was in China, and he was arrested and kept in one of their work camps for 3 years. When he was finally released, thanks to pressure from the American people, he came back to New Jersey, and he was in a store, and he saw these big slippers he'd made in the work camp. How can Walmarts or anyone else in the United States allow production facilities in China to sell garments, chopsticks, Christmas decorations that are made in forced labor camps?
It's not all about China currency manipulation, but a lot of it is.
They're cheating on the intellectual property by just flat out pirating stuff from the United States.
You better be very careful when you move your production to a communist country.
At the end of the day, it most certainly will result in more unemployment in the U.S. and to the advantage of China. We're chumps.
So just how big of a chump has America been for supporting China's entry into the World Trade Organization in 2001?
It's like we're in the Super Bowl of globalization, and in fact, we're being taken apart.
And in this Super Bowl of globalization, when you tally up the score on human rights abuses and consider the plight of Tibet, the torture of the Falun Gong, and the crushing of religion and democracy, this much is clear.
The Chinese government is the world's worst human rights abuser on the planet today.
And when you tally up the score on China's rapid military buildup, this too is clear.
China is the only major nation in the world that is preparing to kill Americans.
And of course, when you count the jobs lost and factories gone and millions of Americans out of work.
American manufacturing has been in an absolute crisis over the last decade.
When you tally up all these scores, it's crystal clear that China's entry into the World Trade Organization has been both a losing and a very dangerous proposition. Even as America has all but completely surrendered its manufacturing base to China.
Economic growth in China has not led to its becoming more democratic. It has led to a more sophisticated, better financed form of authoritarianism.
And ironically, one of those measures of repression has been the internet itself, which was supposed to set China free.
China is less free today than it was when it entered the WTO.
China has 50,000 internet police who are tracking every day their capabilities, who's saying what, to be able to try and keep things like Tiananmen Square, democracy, freedom, and those terms off the internet.
And these cyber cops have had plenty of help from American companies in building the great firewall of China.
Google, Yahoo, Cisco, and the capability that they have sold to China, especially for its secret police, has enabled them to search, apprehend, discover the whereabouts, get caches of names, particularly online, where if you send your emails to other people, their IP addresses quickly yield to what their physical addresses are, and they're then apprehended and arrested.
Perhaps the most shameful answer to that question may be found in Yahoo's role in the jailing of a Chinese citizen named Shi Tao.
Here's a guy, a journalist, who sent information to an NGO about what they couldn't say or do as the Tiananmen Square Remembrance Day was coming up, or days, and he sent it to a New York NGO. Chinese government knocked on the door of the Yahoo people, asked for the information. They just coughed it right up, and Shi Tao got 10 years for that.
As for those Falun Gong practitioners and other dissidents singled out by President Clinton,
I had a hearing on the Falun Gong and how they're throwing these people in jail by the thousands and they're harvesting organs.
The way it works is that if somebody wants a liver, say, they fly to Shanghai and they probably go check into the #1 People's Hospital in Shanghai. A military surgeon, probably in uniform, one I'm thinking of, comes up and does the Bishop tests and the blood tests and so on. Then he or she looks on the computer list and says, oh, there's a match out in work camp 400. The poor victim who matches what your organs need is dragged into a sort of hospital, given a light anesthetic in most cases, and never wakes up because they take not just one kidney, they take both kidneys, the liver, heart, everything, and their body is then burned, and the People's Liberation Army flies the organ to Shanghai from wherever the camp happens to be, and you're told you're getting the organ from a convicted murderer or something.
I mean, this is a grotesque tale of the worst kind of oppression and ghoulishness on the part of rulers of a country.
And here is what too many American politicians seem to have such a hard time understanding.
Wei Jingshang told me in Beijing, right before he got rearrested, you Americans don't understand. When you coddle dictatorship, when you kowtow and you carry the dictatorship around on a pillow, they beat us more in the Laogai. When you're tough, predictable, transparent on human rights, they beat us less.
We can no longer afford to treat a communist dictatorship in China as we would treat any other democratic institution, because they have treated us like fools for doing that. And that's because we have been fools.